okay. So we can get the whole meeting started.
Yeah.
If anybody else wants to show their webcam, feel free to do so. So I'm not the only one that everybody's staring at. But let's see. You'd think I'd know by now, but Jake, the first thing we do is roll call?
Yes.
And then I ask folks if they want to say anything.
That's correct.
Yeah, we'll probably get more people. It's early yet.
Right. Yeah, the first 5 minutes there's people usually dropping in, so you might want to give it another minute or two, Len.
Sure, no problem. I'll just start writing down names here and ask if anybody wants to speak.
How's Siesta Key?
It is absolutely beautiful. Today
It's
was
been
83 degrees, tomorrow 85.
Oh, it's been awesome the last few days, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We had a little pool party yesterday with my kids' classmates and their families all came over. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very nice.
The water's still cold though. I haven't. I just wade in. I don't go swimming.
Yeah, our pool and the Gulf are almost always about the exact same temperature. The Gulf's around 75 right now.
What? No way. You're further north than I am, and it's in the 60s here.
No, it's in the 70s.
I'll have to check it out.
Where are you located, Len?
Sarasota. It's an hour south of Tampa, about
Okay.
50 miles, 60 miles south of Tampa,
Do you own
which
a
is
house?
where Bill is. Well, Bill's at St. Pete, actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm just west of Tampa on the coast.
Oh, okay. But you have a house do you have two houses? You have a house in Connecticut and Florida?
Used to, Jake. Now I have no home in Connecticut, no home in Florida. I sold everything, just trying to simplify my life. So we just rent.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's probably the smart way to go.
Yeah. Well, I figure if something happens to me, I don't want my wife saddled with all that headache trying to sell homes,
Right.
clear them out. It was a major effort to declutter our house up in Connecticut before selling. Took months.
Yeah, I've mentioned that numerous times to my wife, but she just kind of ignores me. I guess she plans to keep the house no matter what happens.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
I do have enough insurance to pay off the mortgage for her, so that's all it'll pay off, but it will pay off the mortgage. We have a couple of other people on the telephone. Would you care to identify yourselves?
Jake? Sure, John Appler.
Hi, John.
Hi, John.
Hey, how you doing?
Recurrent.
Wait a minute. I'm typing names. Say again.
Jay Curran.
Okay, thank you. How you doing, Jay?
Very good.
Where are you from, Jay?
San Francisco, California, USA.
All right. How long you been out there?
Oh, as far as being out there, 1969.
I guess you like it. That's a long time.
Yeah.
You must be
It's
a
not to like,
hippie.
right?
I was out here not living in San Francisco during the Summer of Love. You'd sit down on the street and somebody'd sit down and start talking to you.
Oh, yes.
Huh.
Summer of Love. Remember it well. What was it? Somebody said, if you remember it, you didn't live through it.
That was also, didn't Patty Hearst and the Symbionese Liberation Army live in San Francisco for a while? Back in the
they
70s?
Yeah.
actually in the neighborhood where I'm at.
Oh, okay, wow. Yeah, I've been watching that. CNN has a series on them.
Oh, yes.
On that whole
yes.
thing, and I knew they were in San Francisco for a while, then they went to Los Angeles, and that's when they met their maker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I lived in that area when that happened. I was working in Berkeley.
Wow.
Hey, Peter, are you now in San Francisco at UCSF?
No, I'm sitting at my desk and my suitcase is on my couch. I'm almost packed. I have to go to the gym after this call, and then I catch a red eye tonight to San Francisco.
Wow.
Are
I get in about 5:30 in the morning.
Are you having a procedure, or are you just visiting your doctor, or
All the above.
all the above?
I'm getting a Gallium 68 PSMA PET CT scan that's on trial at UCSF.
Oh, okay.
Try to determine the origins of my rising PSA.
Would you repeat that, please? No, I'm serious. What kind of PET scan was that?
It's a Gallium 68 PSMA PET CT. It's on trial. It's not FDA approved yet, but it will be probably this year. It's the best scan you can get. It's better than Oxymin. It's for detecting where things are at very low PSAs, because my PSA is below 1. So we want to find out whether things are happening in the lymph nodes or whether things are on the bone. Or, I'm not sure, but we want to catch it early and as early as possible.
Right.
Right.
So the criteria is that you need to have for this trial. I had to have a rising PSA with a double time of under 3 months. Mine's under 2 months, and it's been doubling since October, every 2 months. So I qualify, and I'm also off of ADT. I've been on a Lupron ADT holiday for the past year, well, maybe 12 months or so, 13 months. Now that's another qualification. So anyway, I'm squeaked in, and I'm flying over to get it.
You had a prostatectomy?
Yes, that's the other qualification. I had a prostatectomy with Dr. Carroll at UCSF in 2015.
2015, yeah.
Yeah. And I also had radiation in 16 with Albert Chang at UCSF.
So your Lupron is failing now?
No, I just went off it in December of 16. I had to take a holiday in consultation with my oncologist, and I made it until October last year, before the rise started happening. So we're watching it pretty carefully. This is the next step.
What's your Gleason?
9, 4 + 5. So this is not unexpected.
So Peter, you didn't consider going back on Lupron right away, or?
Well, that would have precluded me from getting the scan.
Okay.
I wanted to find out what was going on. So my oncologist is Dr. Turner down at Prostate Oncology Specialist in Marina Del Rey. And we talked back and forth, and we figured this is the best way to do it, to find out what's going on, where. And then I'm going to meet with him a week from Monday, or 2 weeks from today, and before I fly back, and come up with a game plan for what to do next. And I suspect it will be going back on Lupron, and probably going back going on to Zytiga or enzalutamide or something. I'm not sure. Depends on what we find on the scan, but I'm sure there'll be something like that in my future, my immediate future. So I'm smiling and laughing, but underneath, I've got some fears for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully what they find will be easily remedied, and it's nothing too serious. Good luck.
Yeah. Well, as we know, it's a management game more than anything else.
Right.
I mean, I'm hoping I can manage this and just go off and on ADT holidays for a while. But once go on for a year, off for a year. I don't know. That would be my best hope.
Peter, do you know why they don't want you to be on ADT during the scan? Even if your PSA is rising, apparently they still don't want you on ADT.
I think it has something to do with the way the trial is conducted. I think they want. I think the general feeling is that the ADT. I guess if you're failing it, maybe your numbers will go up anyway. But I think they get probably more candidates this way if you're not on anything and your numbers are going up post prostatectomy, post radiation.
You may be.
There was a posting on Inspire. Someone wanted to know if there was a Gallium 68 PSMA PET MRI as opposed to PET CT, which is what you're getting.
Yes, there is.
Where is it?
And both are available at UCSF, but Dr. Carroll and my oncologist both felt the CT was the better option for me. It kind of depends on people. The MRI can find things further around in the body, but it's not as fine-tuned as the CT part one. That can pick up more minute stuff at low PSA, so they felt that was my better option.
Interesting. Okay.
I thought my uneducated guess was to do the MRI, but both doctors said no. Well, you're doing the CT. So I said, okay, you guys went to medical school, not me. That's why I'm using you.
Well, I was under the same impression as you that MRI gives more detail, particularly when trying to distinguish between normal and abnormal tissue. But like you say, we don't have the MD degrees.
Right.
All right, so it's 8:12.
Yeah.
Let me go.
Before you go on, there's one other phone caller. I have a feeling I know who it is, and then somebody else.
It may be Sylvester.
I kind of figured. Hi, Sylvester.
That was my
Hello,
guess
everybody.
too. Welcome, Sylvester.
Okay, now you can go down the list, Len.
Okay.
So Len, have you mentioned what's going on with Rick today?
I did not. If you want to address that, please do.
Sure. Yeah, Rick sends his apologies for not being on the call today, but it's the birthday party of a 90-year-old mentor of his, and he felt he could not miss it. It's a very important occasion to him, so he asked Len and Jake and I to intercede for him and cover bases. So he will be back on next Tuesday for sure, and he's still available. He hasn't disappeared. He's just had a conflict today, so that's where he is.
Well, you can count on being number one in the doc on next week, Peter. Tell us all about the Gallium MRI.
Yeah.
Well, I won't have the results next month. I won't have the results next Tuesday.
Oh.
I'll tell you how the scan went, but I won't have the results until probably Friday,
Okay.
a week from Friday.
The whole trial is just one day, I presume?
It's just a
What was
scan,
that?
right? The scan takes about an hour usually.
Oh. The entire trial is just one day.
No, this one takes about 4 or 5 hours.
Oh, really? Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All in one day.
Gallium-68, they're going to nuke me pretty much. It's got a half-life, I think, of 68 minutes. So
Yeah.
you figure 2 hours, I won't be radioactive anymore. So I don't think they'll turn me loose into the public for a while until I'm not radioactive anymore.
Right. Jeez.
Anyway.
Okay. They'll put a little sticker on your forehead, I guess.
Keep away. Keep away. Did any
Okay,
of you ever have one of those? Any of you ever had the PET scan where they tell you to stay away from your grandchildren for a week or several days?
No.
Not to hug them?
They told me that for a bone scan.
Yeah.
Not for grandchildren, but for my wife's daycare kids, they said stay away for like a day or so. But when I had the PET scan I had wasn't radioactive, apparently. I had the old-fashioned FDG.
Right.
Sorry, Len.
No, that's okay. Well, we might as well start with you, Jake. Anything you'd like to speak on today?
No. I was on the block last time. I had my grilling.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you were. And Peter, I guess you just gave us your update, so I don't, unless there's something else.
No.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go just by the list I have here. No particular order. Bill Franklin, you're next on my list.
No, I don't really have anything to talk about. Do we have anybody new on the call today that's never been here before?
That's a good question.
I think I recognize everybody.
Yeah. No. Nobody knew.
Except for Brian. I don't know which Brian that is.
Oh yeah, right.
Well, he's next on my list. So Brian, tell us what your last name is.
It's Brian Heisey from Bartlett, Illinois. I've been on a few times.
Yes, the voice certainly sounds familiar. Is that Heise?
It's actually Hyzy.
Oh, okay. Would you like to speak tonight?
No, I don't have anything to talk about tonight.
All righty. Dennis Correa.
Hi, Len. Yeah, I don't need any time. I'm just still cruising along on my Zytiga and Prednisone.
Very good. Things are under control, not rising.
Right.
Terrific.
Another Lupron shot next week. And so far, so good. Everything's under control.
Very good. Looks like I skipped over Christine Sibley. Christine, would you like to speak?
Hi.
Hi.
I thought maybe you passed over me because I'm a female.
No, not at all. We like to put you right up on the pedestal.
This is the Me Too movement, you know.
That's right. I've got to watch my P's and Q's.
I'm here on behalf of my father, David Sibley.
Right.
And I don't see him on the call, but I do see my brother Paul on the call. And we just actually went to UCSF and talked about trying out the immunotherapy trial. So if you'd like me to talk about it, I can. Otherwise, if there's other people that want to talk, let them go first, of course.
I would love to hear what you have to say about immunotherapy. So we will get back to you. Okay. Right now, we're just finding out who needs to or wants to speak. Thank you. Okay. Dennis is up there twice, I see. Jay Curran.
Yes. So you want to know what I want to talk about or what I want to ask about later on when you come back to me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I've been on Zytiga and Prednisone now for, I think it's about 13 days or something like that. So I'm interested in what people have as their side effects and so forth and so on. And I'm also wondering if anyone's had any contact or experience with a Dr. Tanya Dorf in the City of Hope.
Okay, we'll certainly come back to you. John Appler.
Yeah, hi. No,
Hello?
I have some. Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Sure.
Hello? Yeah, I'll have some genetic tests back next time we talk, but as of now, I don't have anything. Anxious to hear about these immunotherapy trials at UCSF.
Very good. I'm sure we're all interested in that. Okay, John. We'll catch you next week, I guess.
Sounds good.
Paul Frieda, how are you? Paul's muted. There
I'm
he
fine,
is.
but don't need anything tonight.
Okay, Paul, thanks. And Spokane Gary.
Yeah, I'm just listening tonight. So thanks, you guys.
Okay, thank you. And Sylvester Mann.
Thank you, but I don't have anything to talk about tonight, but I do feel guilty always listening but never having anything to say, so please forgive me.
No need to ask for forgiveness. We'd love to have you on the call and listening. I just love that that Southern gentleman drawl of yours. I assume it's from the South.
I'm from Georgia, Atlanta, and I think you're about the third person that has commented about this Southern drawl that I have.
I just love it. I just love it. Okay. Jay.
We do get him. We do occasionally. Sylvester's on our conversations, and occasionally we get him to talk. But he's normally a relatively quiet guy.
He's a listener. That's good.
But like you say, we like to have him.
Sure. Jake, did I miss anyone?
Paul Sibley. I assume. I guess Christine and he are probably the same.
Christine and Paul will have to. Yeah, they'll have to decide which one will speak, or maybe they can both speak.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. So that covers everyone. Gee, we don't have too many volunteers today. Should we start then with Paul and/or Christine?
Yeah, Len, this is Peter. I'd like to get involved with Christine and Paul's consideration about immuno stuff, because I've got stuff that I saw today that I'm curious about.
Okay. Do you want to take it over?
We can definitely do that. My father has come to a point in his treatment where his PSA continues to rise. The last PSA was 109. This is actually the highest it's ever been in his entire treatment. He's had 4 treatments of docetaxel, and he's had 3 treatments of Jevtana, and it still continues to rise. So we went to UCSF to find out what treatment options that we have. We talked about an immunotherapy trial, which initially he decided, well, he went to the consultation with Dr. Fong, Rick is really loves Dr. Fong. He says he's the guy. He runs the whole immunotherapy clinic over at UCSF. And my dad didn't want to do it. And the biggest reason he didn't want to do it, it's called ES414, is because you have to go twice a week to San Francisco to have the pump or the bag refilled with the fluid, because this immunotherapy is a constant drip for 6 months. It's sounds similar to maybe one of those diabetic pumps where you have to refill every 3 days, I believe. The other option they gave him was PEMBROLIZUMAB, and that's another immunotherapy option, which they would give him the infusion once every 3 weeks.
Yeah,
now
that's
that
the
has
one Jimmy Carter got.
Now, did he respond well to that one?
He absolutely did, but he had brain cancer, not prostate cancer.
Oh.
He has no evidence of disease. Jimmy Carter, that is. But he is what they call an exceptional responder. That's not the norm.
Right, and I'm kind of getting the vibe that the immunotherapy is a small percentage. We're not, with the people that do respond, it's like a miracle. But the people that don't respond just don't respond. But there's a small percentage of people that do respond. Maybe 5 to 15%, I'm seeing something like that, especially with prostate cancer. It hasn't been really studied as well. And the ES414 is also called, I believe, emergent, EMERGENT. So my father, I think he's going to decide maybe to go back and try the trial. The other option for him would be carboplatin inside of an existing chemo that he already has. But the quality of life on that, I heard, would not be very high. And also, if he did respond to the carboplatin, usually doesn't, the response rate isn't for very long. So my dad also asked about the possibility of palliative care, which would mean hospice, just to kind of discuss that option. And the doctor there that we see is Dr. Friedlander, and he's a specialist, and we really liked him. We really like him, and he said that the thing about hospice and palliative care is what he's seen, if you did stop everything right now, is that the lymph nodes would start to swell, and the cancer would eventually start spreading. And then you would start getting into pain. He sounded like the pain would start coming maybe 3 to 6 months-ish or something like that. So I'm not really sure about that, but the immunotherapy to me is a little bit scary, because what can happen is if the immune system boosts up too high, it can start attacking your own tissues or organs.
Yes.
That's my understanding. So we're kind of here to maybe discuss that tonight and see if anyone had thoughts about that, because I think he's pretty much going to try it, because what you can do is you can try it, and then I guess if you don't like it, you could just stop it, or they can even kick you out, actually, if you're not a candidate, I guess, after they said you can find out if it's working after a month. They do a scan, and if it's not working, I guess they would kick you out of the study.
So David hasn't decided yet what he wants to do. He's, I guess, kind of confused.
Right. He does not like to go to well, we only live 40 minutes from San Francisco. So we're really fortunate to have UCSF so close. But on a traffic day, it could take an hour and a half. And he is really freaked out by traffic and the bridges and all that, the city. So to him, that's a bad quality of life, having to be all stressed out, driving across the bridge 3 times a week.
Let me ask you, since he's had 2 different chemotherapies already, does he have any peripheral neuropathy?
He has a little bit in his legs, but he does not have that much. And I believe he had that before the chemo started.
Okay,
he had a little bit of nerve damage before.
Carboplatin, which was on his list of options, is kind of notorious for peripheral neuropathy. So if that was already a serious problem, that's something to consider. But it sounds like it's not much of a problem right now. Yes, pembrolizumab is, it's a checkpoint inhibitor. It has not shown much success so far in prostate cancer, even less than what we see in other cancers like brain and melanoma, where it might be up to 20-25%. And yes, it can put your immune system into turbo mode and cause your immune system to attack normal, healthy cells, create all kinds of problems. However, I think they're learning now how to manage that a lot better. They treat patients with fairly large doses of steroids to suppress the immune system when that happens. But again, I'm just saying these are things that you should talk to his doctor about. Like, okay, doc, suppose I'm on pembrolizumab and my immune system starts attacking my colon. What are the odds that you can correct that? Anyone else want to talk to Christine about the options that she mentioned?
This is Jay, Christine. I have a question. Has your father been on either enzalutamide or Zytiga?
He was on Xtandi, and he did not go on Zytiga.
Any particular reason why? Did the Xtandi not work?
The Xtandi worked for about 6 months, and then his general oncologist and him kind of pushed back on the Zytiga, and I'm not really sure why they did.
Because it caused him a lot of pain, the Xtandi.
Really?
That's true.
That's
The
unusual.
Xtandi caused severe pain. That was true.
Joint pain?
Right. Joint pain and shoulder pain. The shoulder pain was so excruciating that, yeah, he was taking like heavy painkillers and trying cannabinoids like all day long, and
We had to tape him.
as soon as he stopped taking it, no pain. He has no pain right now either.
Wow.
Yeah, he has no pain.
That's
he has no pain. He has good, pretty good quality of life. So he's really, really concerned about quality of life. If the immunotherapy is going to cause a problem with quality of life, that's his biggest thing that he doesn't want to do.
The first option that you mentioned, Christine, the one with the bag, it sounds like that's like some kind of cocktail. Do you know what drugs were in that?
Okay, so that's the ES414. It's the trial. It's the emergent trial.
Right.
EMERGENT, and that's with Dr. Fong at UCSF.
But I mean, do you know what drugs they were actually using in the drip that they would, if he were to get that, he would have a 6-month drip. Do you know what the drugs were that they were using?
I don't, and they said they have to put him into the hospital to get the dose right before they can let him leave.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Ling.
Go ahead, Jake.
I was going to say.
No, you go.
Today I saw a thing on Us Too, where somebody had gotten a immunotherapy thing that contained Optivo, Keytruda, and one other drug.
Yervoy.
Thank you, Peter. I was wondering if that's the one he's talking about.
That's the link.
I think it might be, and there's only 4 UCSF participants right now. They haven't been able to get a lot of participants because I guess it is, even though your insurance or you have time or someone to take you, I guess the problem could be you don't have money to get to San Francisco to spend the night in lodging. It's very expensive there. And it's time consuming. You have to go 2 times a week, and then I guess if there's any issues, you may have to go back again during the week.
Well, as an agoraphobic, I understand about the bridges and the traveling, so I can certainly relate to that.
He's like that too.
Christine, are you on phone or a computer?
I'm on a computer.
Okay, if you go to the chat window, I posted. This is Peter. I posted a website called WilliamsCancerInstitute.com.
I see it.
What Jake was referring to was just today. I was reading that. I thought it was on Health Unlocked, but it might have been on the Us Too Inspire site. Anyway, this guy he comes across like a miracle poster child, like the President Carter of prostate cancer, and he claims he's all but cured. He feels great, feels better than he has in years, and it came across so strange that you have to follow the thread because most people revert it. But if you get halfway down, he starts talking about what he's actually what it was involved with, and it was a combination of those 3 drugs.
That's the one.
Yervoy, and Optivo.
That's the one. His name was Mitch. His name was Mitch or something, I believe. Yeah. And it took about 5 or 10 people to ask finally, and he actually went into some detail. But you're right; it was almost too good to be true.
Too good to be true.
Yeah.
Anyway, this guy got very positive results from it. It's an off-label treatment. You can look up this Williams Cancer Institute. They're down in southern Alabama, kind of near the Gulf, and they're pretty upfront with talking about what they're doing. I don't think it's a fly-by-night operation. It seems pretty legit, and it's worth exploring. And and talking to them. I don't know, but whether it's any different than UCSF or, I mean, it's a long ways away, southern Alabama, granted, but I don't know what the results are. I think he treats many other kinds of cancers with this cocktail. He doesn't even mention prostate, but this guy, I guess, was treated for prostate cancer, and it seems to be working for him. And the other thing I read today was not ready for prime time yet. I think at Hopkins, they came out, they've done some research, and they found that there's some way that they can tell now that they're experimenting with, they can tell from taking white blood cells whether you would be a candidate for immunotherapy by looking at protein levels or something in the white blood cells. I can't remember where I read that, whether it might have been on Euro Today or something. But that's I don't know if there's trials for that, but it might be worth exploring as well.
Well, thank you. I'll have a look at that, and I could send out information. My dad has all the papers. I have a little bit of the paperwork, and it just talks about what kind of drug. It says it's an antibody drug that connects to cells that express a protein called prostate-specific membrane antigen. An antibody is common of human protein produced by your body that your immune system talks about the immune system. And then the doctor explained it as this particular chemical pulls it's kind of like a magnetic thing where it pulls the cancer cells away from the tumors. And they've tried this therapy before, but they only delivered it in a different dosing, like every 3 weeks. And it was too far apart, the dosing, so it started like attacking, I guess, the tissues. So now they're delivering it in a constant drip. So I don't know.
We still have to go through a what do they call it, Christine? A consultation with the coordinator about this therapy.
Right, and we do have a coordinator. He's already met with the doctor, and now we have an appointment with the coordinator. And then he would have to test, of course, to make sure that he meets all the requirements.
I think this coordinator would be familiar with the two things I just mentioned. Thinking about it, what I read today was they take a tumor tissue sample and check the white blood cells in the tumor and look for the specific protein, and that tells them whether you're a good candidate for immunotherapy or not. And it's still an experimental stage. I don't know if they're doing trials or it's just lab work at this point.
They also said, the doctor also said that it's secretive. You cannot, I said, well, how are the participants, the 4 participants that you have in there, how are they doing? How long have they been in there? And they can't discuss anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because it's all off-label. You know, they're right. they're doing stuff that's not FDA approved at this point, and they're trying to come up with things, and I guess they need guys who are willing to put themselves through this to see if something positive will come out of it.
Dr. Freilander didn't give it. He had 4 different options, and out of the 4 different options, that is the only one he's willing to go to.
What other options do you mean?
What was the other immunotherapy? The one below it? What was that name you gave? And then
pembrolizumab.
And then the that other hormone pill.
Oh, Zytiga.
Yeah, and then the
carboplatin.
Carboplatin. Yep.
That's true. That's right.
And the Dr. Freilander said that 5%. I mean, he said he couldn't,
right.
Exact, but it was 5% possibility with either one of the trials. Maybe 20% with the other hormone pill. I forget what they call it. And Christine's got it. And then the carboplatin. Yeah, the carboplatin. He said it would probably just work for a couple times, maybe 2 or 3 times. So he didn't feel very confident. Dad asked if what if he did nothing, and then he wanted to put him in the hospice if that was the case. He did nothing.
I think your dad is a little too early to consider hospice, in my opinion. I mean, his PSA is high, but it's not that high. He's not in pain.
I agree.
I'll tell you what he was concerned. That's exactly the same question I asked him, the doctor. And the doctor said the issue is that his PSA is doubling every time he gets a test. And that's where he worried. He says, because I said that, I said, I've heard people in the, the thousands at the PSA level. And he said, well, in those cases, they're not doubling. And right now, every time, even on the chemotherapy, his score is double. And that's what the
reason he recommended hospice is because if you choose not to get any more treatment, even if it's early, he says it's a good idea to start hospice because you'll get all your palliative care through there.
But the main reason.
But if he's not in pain, why palliative care? If he's not feeling pain at this point, why does he need palliative care?
He has some pain.
He will supposedly.
Well, if it's doubling, yeah.
Well, he will.
They're concerned because it's doubling very quickly, Peter. That's their concern, is that it's doubling very quickly.
So he said just to get it set up and ready.
And he's having some pain. I mean, not pain. He's gotten some pains in his rib. He pointed to his rib, and then he's having issues with his belly. There's something going on that I guess you know in your body, if something's going on, and he really is having a hard time in his abdomen regions.
Has he had a scan that shows his soft tissue is clear, like his liver and so forth? Is that clear?
On the second, he's going to have another scan. On the second, he's going to have
He has lymph nodes that are involved and bone mets, but he does not have any organs that they saw. And this was, the last one was, I think, September. No, let me look. When's the last scan?
He's got one scheduled for the second, so we probably will know more then. And the doctor did a PSA and a testosterone test on him as he left, because he wants to see where everything's at right now when we left the hospital.
His last one was in October. His last scan.
Well, sign. But if it's still just lymph nodes and bones, and he doesn't have excruciating pain, he's got, if he can live with the pain without taking opioids, I would say hold off on hospice, because hospice, all they can really do is kind of put you on opioids and relieve the pain. And I don't think there's a rush to go to do that as long as he's comfortable where he is.
That's good to know.
It is a good idea to get all that set up, though. To arrange with a hospice so that when the time comes, you'll be able to move into it very quickly, if and when that time comes. But I agree with Peter and Len that right now, if he's not in pain, going to hospice is probably jumping the gun.
Well, what the doctor said was the reason why he would put him in the hospice is because he's seen people go in the hospice and it really raised their how did he put it? He put it like
their care status.
Raise their spirits where soul over body kind of thing, where they can kind of heal themselves. That's what he was saying, something like that.
He said through nutrition. He said through nutrition and having someone come to assist them, they actually do better. But I would think this was probably for people that don't have caregivers or caretakers.
Yeah, I've only had one experience. I've only had one experience with a buddy who used to be on this call, who went into hospice the last 2 weeks of his life, and but he was in pretty excruciating pain, and his PSA was doubling every 3 weeks to a month, and was going from 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000 and so forth. But it had migrated beyond the bones to his liver, and it wasn't a happy sight. But he definitely got palliative care and relief, but it wasn't much I could do for him. I don't know what to say. I would explore all the options.
Yes.
I
agree.
Well,
I agree with Peter, because hospice is generally an end of life thing. They stop any other treatments other than to keep the patient comfortable. They won't try any new drugs. They won't try anything else other than to keep him, feeling okay. And it's usually an end of life thing, to my understanding. At least it was with my brother, who had liver and pancreatic cancer. So I don't know. It's his decision, but I personally would wait a little bit longer.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Christina and Paul, I would ask that, since the doctor was pushing the ES414 trial, and since your dad his primary concern seems to be quality of life, why not ask the doctor, what is the likelihood that if this treatment, whether it works or it doesn't work, this ES414, what is the likelihood that it will have an adverse effect on his quality of life? Because I'm thinking that a monoclonal antibody against PSMA is not going to be toxic. So it might be a very good choice for him. Just questions you need to ask.
Well,
That's a good question.
It's a choice he's already made, because he already said he wasn't going to do it one time, and then when the doctor gave him the options, he decided to go back towards it. So I think he's realizing that, he wants to keep fighting on.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Because
Okay.
knowing my dad, he doesn't going to San Francisco, getting a port put in, spending 2 days in the hospital, he feels like kind of like a guinea pig in a sense, a guinea pig in a sense. And that's kind of not his thing.
All right.
Well, I agree. You are a guinea pig when you go on a trial like this. But many of us are using drugs that were found by people who became guinea pigs to try them out. Whether it's Zytiga or whether it's enzalutamide or different chemo drugs, they have to be tried somehow. It's a tough choice. I understand that. It's a really tough choice. And that's what trials are about.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate your feedback.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for your help.
You're welcome. Good luck. I'd just like to follow up on that immunotherapy discussion that Peter and Jake raised about this fellow Mitch on Inspire, the S2 site. That is not something that I think we should be recommending to anybody to even look into, because if you carefully read through that entire thread, it sounds extremely sketchy to me. And you may not have seen the more recent posts where it turns out that this guy is operating this clinic in Mexico City, Mexico. And he said that when his offices in the U.S. open up, he's not going to be offering that treatment. That's highly suspicious. So he wants something like $25,000 for this treatment in Mexico.
Oh.
No insurance. And he's not even going to attempt to use this therapy when he's in the U.S. The concept sounds.
You're so right, then, Len. I didn't see all those. I didn't see all that later correspondence, but you are so right. So it's possible that what Christine and Paul are talking about may have been something totally different.
Oh, it is completely different. Yeah, because what this guy is doing, this Williams Cancer Institute, it's called intratumoral immunotherapy. So they're taking that cocktail of Opdivo, Keytruda, and Yervoy and injecting it directly into the tumor tissue.
Well, that is what this guy was talking about.
No.
Mitch, the one that I saw, that's who he mentioned specifically. It took him a while.
Oh, you're talking about Mitch on the Us2 website.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about too. But it's different, completely different from this ES14 that Christine mentioned. That's a whole different therapy.
Right.
One has, yeah.
The ES414 is.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm certainly not pushing it. I just ran across it today, and it was one of those too good to be true stories, and I just thought, I'd throw it into the mix. I have no idea what's going on with it. It could be pretty sketchy. I agree with you. If it's done in Mexico, I would be very suspicious of it.
So so we don't know what the ES414 includes. We don't know what drugs are in that.
Yeah, she did mention that it was an antibody to PSMA, prostate-specific membrane antigen, which is the same thing that Peter is going to be scanned with. They're not using an antibody, and Peter's not being treated. They're just using the PSMA as a scanning diagnostic.
Right, the gallium 68 that they'll shoot me up with adheres to the membrane antigen, prostate-specific membrane antigen, and that's what lights up when they look at the scan. But apparently it finds its way to very low detectable things, very low PSA detectable places.
Correct. All right, should we move on to?
Hey, Lynn.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Bill. I just posted the description of ES414. That's right out of the clinical trial that Christine was mentioning from clinicaltrials.gov.
Yes, very good.
So yeah, it is a PSMA antigen specifically designed for that.
Yes. Right. Right. So the idea there is to.
I think this exact same thing came up last week on Tuesday's meeting. It seems really familiar to me, or else I'm just having deja vu.
No, you're right. It did come up. I can't remember the context, but it did. Oh, maybe I think it was actually the same folks. It was the Sibley's. I think they mentioned it last week.
Oh, I think it was my dad. He signed into the wrong meeting. Oh, yeah.
He was in our group with his son Paul.
Right.
We were there. Yep.
Yep.
And he said something about that trial.
Well, Dr. Fong is one of the best. Dr. Fong is one of the best, and I think he's certainly very knowledgeable and to be trusted. So I've never heard any bad things about him.
I certainly think we're very blessed to be by UCSF.
Yes. That's why I'm flying 2,500 miles over the ocean tonight, just to go there.
Wow. Do you have a place to stay?
I do.
Oh, good.
Yeah, tell that to your dad. He's worried about a 40-minute ride, and Peter's going 2,500 miles.
Yeah, he's not the world traveler. He won't even come to North Carolina where I'm at, so he's not getting on a plane.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't need to.
We have another caller, Len, on the telephone. Before you go on to the next guy, would you somebody
Who is it?
join us on the telephone?
Yes, Jim Harrington.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
How you doing?
Good.
Oh, I'm
Doing well. Welcome aboard.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Mr.
Would you like to speak tonight?
No, thanks. I don't have anything to add.
Very good.
Just enjoying chemo. It's just a barrel of monkeys.
All right. Well, sense of humor will get you far.
Yeah, you try to keep it sometimes. Yeah.
Good for you. Can we move
Jim,
on
do you have any?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Jim, did you hear that final discussion about, when to go into hospice and
I
when
just
not
came
to?
in at that time and I just listened to it, and that's a difficult subject, so I don't know. I mean, I just heard the end of it. Very interesting. I haven't heard that subject discussed. No, I don't have an answer to that one. Tough subject.
Okay.
But you can go right ahead. I'm just listening. I'm just a little bit late tonight, that's all.
All right. I was going to move on to Jay Curran, unless anyone else wants to comment on what we just spoke about.
This is Jay Curran.
Yeah, Jay.
And before I start, I'm just thinking, I just finished Provenge therapy during the month of December. I assume that doesn't have much to do with what we were just talking about with David.
Well, it is a form of immunotherapy. It was the very first immunotherapy approved in any cancer, and happened to be for prostate cancer.
Okay.
It's a little different than the type of immunotherapy they have now, but you want to tell us about that, or?
Well, if it would help them, I'll talk about it a little bit, but otherwise, I'll go on.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, his physician didn't seem to give him an option for Provenge for whatever reason. No.
He had Provenge in the past, very early on.
There you go.
Yeah, I thought about mentioning it too, but then I remembered that Rick usually says that they generally try to give Provenge when the PSA is lower.
Yes, that's true.
Below 20 or so.
Right, they have to be stable.
Yeah.
It has to be stable.
Okay. Well, anyway, about 2 weeks ago, Dr. Ryan, I'm in San Francisco and go to UCSF, and he had me go on. I decided to go on after resisting for a while. Zytiga and prednisone, or however you say it, prednisone.
Prednisone.
And my PSA had been doubling every month and had gone from 0.6 up to 101. And so then now after 2 weeks, it's back down to 54. And
0.54.
Say again, please.
0.54.
Nope. 54.0.
So it went up.
You said it went from 0.6 to 1.01. And then tell us again what your PSA was.
It was near 100. It was 101.
101.
101. Okay.
I
Sorry.
misunderstood him too. Sorry
I
about
did
that.
too.
So I'm wondering if there are folks that have been on Zytiga and prednisone and what the side effects were. And one of the things that I didn't like about prednisone and why I resisted was it affects your immune system. I just cut my finger today and working with old lumber and old metal things. So anyway, I've heard that takes a long time for cuts to heal. Things like that.
Yeah. What your doctor should have told you is that the prednisone that they give you is necessary because Zytiga suppresses your body's natural production of a similar steroid. It's called cortisol, but the prednisone is simply designed to replace the cortisol that Zytiga is suppressing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you really shouldn't worry about it suppressing your immune system. And in fact, if you take Zytiga without any prednisone at all, you're very likely to get all kinds of nasty side effects like muscle cramping and GI issues because of low cortisol levels.
Okay. One thing about it, I kind of lost my train of thought. But I was on Lupron for quite a while, several months.
Yeah, that'll do it.
It replaces the cortisol, and it does shut down your adrenals apparently. And some people say that they can atrophy and you can never get them back working, and other people say that's not true.
It's not true.
Okay. I'm on 10. Oh, I was going to say I'm on 10 milligrams, and I'd like to get that lowered if I can. I see his nurse practitioner tomorrow. But
yeah, you might try getting it lower. So I know several guys who have reduced the amount of prednisone that they're taking, and they don't have any adverse effects. So of course you want to go with the lowest dose possible.
Okay.
Yeah, Jade, and this is Dennis Correa.
Okay.
I'm on Zytiga, been on it for almost 6 months now with the prednisone. And my prednisone dose is 2.5 milligrams twice a day. So for a total of 5 milligrams a day. And I recommend taking that with food, which I do.
Yeah.
And the Zytiga you have to take basically on an empty stomach, 1,000 milligrams a day.
Yep.
And you can't eat for at least an hour after you take it.
Yep.
That's the two key things for me, but has worked very well. Brought me down to a 0.2 was at my last blood test, where I was having, even after my chemo, I was only down to 0.6, and then I had a progression and went for an Oxman scan. They found some new mets. And that's when I changed my oncologist, and I went to Mayo, and they did the tumor board reviewed the scan results, and they came back for me with a recommendation for the Zytiga. So since I've been on that, I'm doing well. The usual side effects of hot flashes and sweats and so forth on occasion, but it's working, and I feel very good. I think. For me, I also had some arthritis going on, so the prednisone was actually a positive for me. I don't have nearly a quarter of the arthritis pain that I was having before.
And you're only on 2.5?
2.5 twice a day.
Oh, okay. 5 to get altogether for the day.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. You have any bloating at all?
Well, I put on belly fat. That's the side effect of the Lupron and everything, all the ADT stuff.
Yeah, I get some bloating, but I've been.
Yeah. But I did not. I had a lot more bloating before when I did the chemo. That was definitely a problem. But on rare occasions, if I eat the wrong stuff, I'll get some bloating, and I head for the Gas-X right away, and takes care of it.
Hmm. Well, that kind of relieves my mind a little bit. How about tapering off? If you have to, I hear you can't just stop it cold.
That's true.
That's true.
And the side effects are, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you're interested in trying to taper down to Dennis's dose, you could do that. I imagine you wouldn't have any issues if you went from 10 to 5 in, just day to day.
With doctor's approval.
With doctor's approval. Are you taking 2 5-milligram tablets right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so ask him if it would be okay if you broke it in half and just took 2.5 milligram tablets a day. See if he's okay with that. I think he should be.
Okay. I just had another thing I was going to ask and it went out of my mind.
How long are you on Zytiga?
Oh, I was going to tell you I'm on Firmagon also.
Right.
Get a shot of Firmagon once a month. What were you going to ask me?
This is Jim Harrington. I was going to, what is the problem with the prednisone? Why don't you like it? I missed something.
Oh, no, okay. There's about 6 side effects.
What are your side? I mean, I'm taking it too. But what are your side effects?
So far, I haven't anything other than the bloating, but I understand that it'll do a number on your liver if you take it long enough, or kidneys.
No, I don't know.
Enzymes.
Well, I'm on chemo, and I'm on it for a long time, and I take 2 5-milligram prednisone a day. It's required by the docetaxel, and I don't see much. Actually, it makes your joints feel better. It makes my knees feel better. I don't see much bloating. I just try to keep my weight under control. Anyway, I have enough trouble with the chemo, and that can control your weight. But I don't find it a horrible thing. I don't know what's going to do to my liver in time. I mean, I got other problems right now, but I never heard that one. But I know people have trouble with prednisone. I also have to take dexamethasone before the chemo too, but I gather it's sort of like prednisone. It's a steroid, but I guess I don't have too much trouble with it. I can make your joints feel better. I don't know if it makes your appetite grow or does things like that, but I hope my liver isn't a problem. But sorry to hear. I hear a lot of people on the call that do have problems with prednisone, but for the chemo, it's required, so I got to take it.
Yeah.
Good luck with you in trying to figure out how to do it or cut it in half or whatever. I know it's can cause problems, but I've been taking it a long time now.
A couple of years?
No, not that long. And also on Lupron. I'm a Lupron lifer, Xgeva. And the docetaxel, I've had probably 15 to 16 docetaxels. Every 2 weeks I do it, and I sure wish I could stop it, but right now it works more or less. So no, so since I've started that, I've been on the prednisone, and I guess before I've had it, but to say it's required, you got to take 2 5-milligrams with the docetaxel. So what are you going to do?
One thing that I did hear from someone I respect was that he looked up the 10 best things for your liver, and a couple of them were dandelion tops and beet tops.
Oh,
he went for those.
Well, I've had dandelion tea, and it just tastes awful. So I've never eaten the tops of the dandelions, but I haven't heard that one.
Okay. And my next question was if anyone ever had treatment from Dr. Tanya Dorff. She's at City of Hope, and she just got appointed to do reviews on ASCO papers in Chicago and San Francisco. I was thinking about doing a consult with her.
Anybody have any experience with that doctor?
Rick is
usually the one.
If she's publishing for ASCO, then she probably knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
Ask her. She's probably, she probably knows what she's talking about. Jay, I wanted to make a comment. You mentioned, we talked about this several months ago on the on the Zytiga and the prednisone. And this is something you might want to ask your doctor about. I don't know if it'll work or not, but some people have said that you could take Zytiga with food at a reduced dose, which then may possibly, and this is why you need to talk to your doctor, may reduce your requirement for the prednisone.
That sounds strange, but I guess.
Does anybody remember that conversation? We had it on here several months ago.
Yeah, but my recollection, Jake, is that it allowed you to reduce the dose of Zytiga, not necessarily prednisone. So if you take, if instead of taking 4 Zytiga pills, you only needed to take 1 with food, so 25%.
Right, and that's why I was just thinking, perhaps, again, this is just a supposition that it may reduce the requirement for prednisone at the same time, because that seems to be what Jay is concerned about.
Yeah, I kind of doubt it, because yes, you are taking less Zytiga, but it's being absorbed 4 times better. So in other words, you get the same biological dose of Zytiga if you take it with food than if you don't take it, if you take it without food.
Right. Okay, well, just a thought.
That makes sense, yeah. But yeah, you can talk to your doc about that also.
Jay, is your oncologist? Jay, is your oncologist Dr. Ryan?
Yes, it is, and he's going to be leaving in end of April.
That was my question. What's in the works for his patients?
He's going to assign them to different people, and it almost sounds like it may be just based on when you make your appointments. Like I've been coming in on Mondays every 3 months.
You might want to talk to Rick, because he's familiar with them all, and whether you can request a certain one.
Okay.
Because I know Rick is very savvy about the whole oncology team at UCSF, and he probably has some input for you.
Okay. So I guess that's all I have. I understand Rick doesn't seem too hot on LU-177 coming out of Australia, or the BAT therapy that Dr. Libowitz had or used to have, or I guess he's still with that practice. But I don't want to be controversial.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything great about BAT, people that have done BAT yet. So I can't talk bad about it, but I just don't know much about it. But I do know, I have read about a few people that didn't have a great experience with it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah. I don't think Rick is against it, though. I haven't heard him say that LU-177 or BAT were things that he didn't agree with. I just think, like Peter said, there just hasn't been enough experience with it yet.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Dr. Steve is doing a lutetium trial, I believe. Am I wrong about that? Something at Stanford?
I think so.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So one of our brotherhood is undergoing it now, and he hasn't been on the call for a while, but I'm sure he's got some input, and Rick's in close contact with him.
Okay.
Oh, Jay, I had asked before, how long are you on Zytiga so far?
I started on the 5th of February.
Oh, just a few weeks. So you already dropped your PSA in half. That's good.
Yeah, it surprised me.
Yeah, so maybe you'll get a nice long run out of that. You never took Xtandi, right?
No.
Okay.
And I never did
Zytiga is the
chemo.
drug that's going to come out. Is Zytiga the one that's slated to come out generic this year sometime?
Yes. Yes, that's true. And while we're on the subject of second-line ADT, in case there's anyone on the call who doesn't know this already, apalutamide, which has the trade name Erleada, has been approved for castrate-resistant, non-metastatic prostate cancer. So even if you're not metastatic, but you are castrate-resistant, you are eligible for this newly approved drug called Erleada, E-R-L-E-A-D-A, generic name apalutamide. It's very similar actually to Xtandi in its mechanism of action.
I heard that does not cross the blood-brain barrier, that new one.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jay. I think I remember reading that too, which would be great because then maybe you don't get the brain fog. Hopefully not.
What is that? What happens with Xtandi? You get it crosses the brain barrier.
Yeah, and I think as far as I know, all the ADT drugs cross the blood-brain barrier, and that's why a lot of us have the cognitive issues.
Oh, good. I have an excuse.
Yep, embrace it.
It's not just being old and stupid. I have an actual excuse I can use.
I pull that card all the time.
I'm writing that one down, Lynn. Thank you.
I have one last question about Zytiga. This is Jay Curran. Was something done by the FDA on January 26th that approved Zytiga for some other use? Has anybody heard about that?
Yes, that. So
it could be used earlier in the process, I believe.
Okay.
I think that was the approval.
Yes, while you're still sensitive to hormone therapy, you can now receive Zytiga.
Right.
Previously, you had to be castrate resistant.
So that's reassuring. Things are moving. There's always something new around the corner. That's why it's hard for people. It's hard to say to somebody, give up or whatever, because there's always something new coming down the pike. Something that gives us all new hope.
Yeah.
Apalutamide and Zytiga.
There's so many
examples.
Right. Lutetium 177.
Yeah.
It's another.
Yeah.
The BAT therapy, all these checkpoint inhibitors, immunotherapy drugs. It's a lot going on. They just have to learn how to use the immunotherapy drugs. But that intratumoral immunotherapy injection, I think, is really exciting. Even though I'm very skeptical about that posting on Inspire, just the scientific concept of injecting these powerful immunotherapy drugs directly into the tumor is extremely exciting, because that would mean that you wouldn't get those all the systemic side effects that we see now with those same drugs.
Well, I missed that about the directly into the tumor, because that would preclude probably anybody that has metastases.
No, it doesn't, Jake, because the metastases theoretically would be attacked by something they call the abscopal or abscopal effect. So in other words, they inject the tumor itself with the immunotherapy drugs, which kills, even a small little clone of tumor cells, and that releases antigens into your system, and the what they call cytotoxic T lymphocytes, these immune cells in your body, learn to recognize those antigens that have now spilled out, and they'll go and find them on other prostate cancer cells throughout the body.
Well, so they try to find the main tumor? So that presumes a prostate. Does you still have a prostate with a tumor in it?
I don't know enough about it, and in that post, that wasn't even discussed at all. Like I said, it was extremely sketchy. But I do have an article on, that has nothing to do with that Inspire post, but a true scientific journal article on this intratumoral immunotherapy injection concept, which I can share with anybody if they're interested.
Well, I'd be interested, except I don't think even though I still have a prostate theoretically, at least part of a prostate, my last scan, which was several years ago, didn't show any tumor in my prostate itself. The treatment that I had actually killed it. So all I have is metastases now, and so I'm wondering, where would they find a tumor to inject, the intratumoral drug?
They would. Yeah, I understand completely. They'd have to scan and find a site anywhere and inject that site.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be your prostate or the remains of your prostate.
But all you had to do is find one, and then it was the abscopal effect it'll spread to all the other tumors theoretically.
Yes, that's the theory.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that, Len, that article, if you have it, if you'd be willing to send it to me or post it or whatever.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that. I could pass it to you, and then I guess you could, since you have access to the distribution list, you could distribute it to everybody. And if people are not interested, they'll just ignore it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Oh, this is Jay Kern. What would the title be?
Hold on. Let's see.
Or just post it in the chat box if you have it, Len.
Well, what I have
I'm online, so I don't get it.
Oh. Yeah, I don't. Oh, okay. Let's see if I can grab this. The title is Intratumoral Immunotherapy, Using the Tumor as the Remedy.
Okay.
Now I will, this is a PDF I'm just copying, and I'm going to paste it in. I don't know if it'll be an active link or not, possibly not, but let's see, where am I?
Well, I assume that everybody that's on using the web gets a copy of the chat log after we close the session. If you don't, then there's a setting that you can select to receive the chat log, and with me it's recorded on my my documents, and then I can go back and read it later.
Okay, and could I go to YouTube and get an old session in a week or so in the future? And
No, well,
It wouldn't show up. Okay.
you can go onto YouTube and get a copy. You can hear this topic we're talking about tonight.
Okay.
I'm recording that. But no, there's an option in the GoToMeeting settings where you can receive a chat log. Everything, chat box, all the discussions and everything are recorded in a RTF file, I believe, a Microsoft Word document. And then you can review that at a later date.
I don't see that option.
Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, settings. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't go to settings.
Yeah, I believe it's in the general settings, either general or startup.
Nope, I don't see it there either.
Under general. Always under file save settings, under the general category, there's a file save settings. Always save these to the local machine. And then there's a chat.
Funny, yeah, I don't see that option under general. All I see is select a language, and then under notifications it says show who's talking and show a desktop notification. That's it. Anyway.
Yeah, I have a window where you see your audio screen and webcam stuff. Right above that where it says GoToMeeting, there's a pull down menu, and it says save chat log.
Right.
What are you in settings?
It doesn't say settings. It's like the main window that comes up when you first log on. That's got the audio screen, webcam settings, got the attendees underneath that. It's got chat. At the very top, that GoToMeeting emblem, if you click it, it's a pull down menu, and you say save chat log, and it gives you a place to save it. Mine's been saving documents ever since I started.
Right, me too.
I don't remember ever setting it, but they've always been there.
You can also, at the bottom of the screen, there's a little gearbox where it shows that it's recording. That also gives you the same options.
I must have a different display. I don't see any of this stuff, but I don't want to waste time with it. I have the document. I don't need it.
Well, no, you don't need it, but I'm just saying, anything that people type in, I can't read it when they type it in because it's so small in the chat box. But I can go back and look at it at a later date because it's saved on my computer. Right, Bill?
Okay. And Christine Sibley has posted 2 additional references to the ES414 trial. If anybody's interested in that, that's in the chat window. Thank you, Christine. All right, so according to my list, we didn't have anyone else who felt that they wanted to speak up. So we could end the call early, or we could just have a wide open discussion about whatever pops into someone's head. Peter, do you have any ideas?
Not at this moment, I don't. I mean, there was something I can, but it's gone from my mind right now.
Peter, you and Ken were supposed to do a report on trials sometime. I know I think the last call we ran out of time, and Rick said maybe next time you'd have time for you guys to give your report on the work you've been doing on looking into the trials that might have applicabilities.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
you,
right.
Larry, and Professor Bill.
Yeah, so I'm the only one of the 3 that's on the call right now, right? Yes, I am. Okay, so I've been asked by Professor Bill to hold off maybe another week as he continues to work on his slide presentation. So what we've tried to do is come up with a tutorial on how to search clinicaltrials.gov. And so far, Bill's put together 20 slides, but it's not finished. And it's got screenshots in it and instructions on exactly how to set up filters to get cut through the many thousands of trials available on clinicaltrials.gov. I had, using a strategy, a very broad strategy of prostate cancer, recruiting, and US. Those are the only filters that we're using, and we come up with about 500 trials. And what you can do, and I can post this on the website as well as Bill's tutorial, you can download those references either as a PDF or into an Excel spreadsheet if you're handy with that. And then you can search it locally on your computer for, plugging in any keywords that you like and create little subsets of the clinical trials database. So for instance, if you're interested in trials that are using Gallium 68 PSMA PET scans, you could enter that and you'll come up with all the trials that are currently recruiting for that particular scan. So that's what we're working on right now, and that'll be available pretty soon in the next week or two on the AnCan website.
Sounds good.
Yeah. We also figured if there isn't too much of a demand, which is to say if it doesn't put too much demand on our time, that we'd be willing to conduct searches on behalf of anybody who's listening in and has a particular interest in a particular kind of clinical trial. So we could do the search for you and send you the results. And I told Bill and Larry that there probably aren't that many guys at any given time who are going to be interested in enrolling in a clinical trial. So that's why we feel comfortable offering that service, because we don't feel we'll be overwhelmed by it. Just curious, right now, do any of you run searches in clinicaltrials.gov looking for treatment options?
I have in the past. I haven't recently.
Right.
I'm somewhat familiar with it.
Okay.
Usually they're out of my geographic range, or I'm excluded for whatever reason.
Right. Yeah, that's always an issue.
Right.
And there are a lot of guys will just put their faith in their medical oncologist, and whatever that person is suggesting, they're willing to go along with it, and that's fine. But I know sometimes even your own oncologist isn't aware of all the possibilities, all the trials. There's so many. And I remember even at Sloan Kettering, the medical oncologist I was using, he said to me, he said, look, I know you're familiar with searching these databases, so anytime if you find a trial you think is interesting, let me know and we'll discuss it.
One other thing about clinicaltrials.gov is it's an excellent resource to kind of educate yourself on the difference between phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. They have a whole glossary there and go through all the different terminology, and you can educate yourself about what you might be getting into and what they mean by exclusion and what they mean by senior and what so forth. They've got a lot of terminology there that is useful.
Where is that?
It's on the clinicaltrials.gov website.
Clinicaltrials.gov. Okay, thanks.
That, by the way, that is part of Professor Bill's tutorial. He does go into what a clinical trial is and the different phases of clinical trials. Of course, it won't be in as much detail as you'll have on the actual website.
Also, I might want to say that as a librarian that I am, librarians are very helpful, and all the top UCSF and Duke and Hopkins, they have a 24-hour chat service librarian, and it's free, and they will help you find any information you need, whether it be an article, a trial, anything like that.
Thank you, Christine. Yeah, and that reminds me, there's, in addition to clinicaltrials.gov, there's another clinical trials database specifically for cancer. Clinicaltrials.gov has cancer and other non-cancer clinical trials. Could be Parkinson's or whatever. But the National Cancer Institute, NCI, runs another website at cancer.gov. And they have, it's kind of a subset of the clinicaltrials.gov database in that it's a list of cancer clinical trials, strictly cancer. And they offer a search service free of charge. So you can say, you know, you give them your name, you give them your email address, you say, I have advanced prostate cancer, I'm interested in this type of clinical trial. They'll conduct the search based on the criteria that you list, and within 2 days turnaround time, they'll email you the results. And then if you have any questions on the results, you can follow up with them with a phone call.
Christine?
Right, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Peter?
Christine, I'd be curious, do you use UCSF MyChart quite a bit? Can you find it very effective in terms of getting answers to questions, fast response?
Initially, I had very fast response, and I like the automatic check-in process, but the last time that I sent an email, I did not get a fast response, but they do say within 3 days. So, but I do like it.
Yeah, I find it's a pretty effective tool for me because I'm 3-hour time difference and it's just, it works for me. I can ask a question. Oftentimes I'll have an answer the next morning, and they'll expedite things for me, and they're pretty good that way. Pretty responsive, I find.
And most hospitals and facilities, medical or healthcare facilities now do have librarians. It's actually a growing field. You know, information to help you. They can sit with you one-on-one and research information about, you know, if you just want to read about prostate cancer or, you know, things like that, or what other resources might be available.
That's good to know.
Christine, do you work in a hospital library or in some sort of medical library, or?
Well, no, I work at 2 community college libraries in the East Bay. One, it does have a nursing school, so I'm familiar with searching nursing databases and some medical databases. And now I'm really familiar with it because of my dad's condition. So I've been reading a lot of medical journals and things like that.
Yeah, good for you. Dad's lucky he's got you in his corner.
Well, I don't know if he likes that so much.
Well, you have to let him make the decision. All you could do is give him the information.
Exactly.
There was something, being that we have a little time here, not sure if everyone had seen this in the past few weeks on New Prostate Cancer Info link. They posted results of 10-year results of randomized phase 3 clinical trial evaluating the duration of androgen suppression plus zoledronate, which is Zometa, for locally advanced prostate cancer. And you know, from time to time, we'll have a discussion on this call as to what is best for the length of ADT treatment. You know, is it 6 months? Is it 18 months? Is it 24 months? So this trial, after 10 years of follow-up, and I'm gonna quote this right from Mike Scott from New Prostate Cancer Info Link. He said, the trial was carefully designed to do two things. A, test whether 18 months of ADT was better than 6 months of ADT, which it very definitely was in this group of men. And B, test whether adding zoledronate or Zometa was beneficial, and it was not. So I thought those are two pretty interesting things that guys like us are always debating or wondering what's the right length of time for ADT and whether or not Zometa or Xgeva or any one of those others are useful.
What population did that apply to, Len?
Let's see.
Sounds like somebody in the early stages, rather than like.
No, it's specific. It specifically said locally advanced prostate cancer. Okay. I didn't paste or copy all the information that was in that. The trial was called RADAR, R-A-D-A-R, if you want to look it up.
Okay. I mean,
or go to the.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say some of us are lifers, like Jim Harrington likes to say on Lupron, and so that.
Oh yeah.
It's not going to apply to us.
Right. Don't forget the. Which means non-metastatic.
Right. Locally advanced,
which means not to the bone, but
right.
It could be local lymph node involvement, seminal vesicles, that sort of thing. So that that's for folks who either had a prostatectomy or radiation for locally advanced.
Right. Yeah, Mike Scott, he's a wealth of information. I get email notifications from him, and his stuff is good.
Yeah, he's incredible, and so is Alan. I don't know if it's pronounced Adel or Adele, but yeah. Alan is the guru for radiation, all kinds of radiation therapy.
Right.
Peter, how do you pronounce it?
I thought it was Adele, Alan Adele.
That's what I thought too, yeah.
Sounds good to me. But yeah, he does. He posts, Alan posts a lot of things on behalf of Mike Scott. I think he actually writes some of the more technical things. Mike gives a more of a layman's point of view, and I think Alan Adele apparently has some medical background.
Which blog is this?
Well, I don't know, Peter. You can either refute or back me up on this, but my impression is that Alan takes up all of the stories on revolving around radiation.
Seems to, yes. Yeah, he's pretty up on it.
Yeah.
Is he a layman also? Is he's not a medical guy?
I don't know what his background is.
Yeah. And also scans. He's pretty good on scans as well, and outlining the difference between them and so forth. Yeah.
Right.
So
scanning, imaging, radiation. Yeah.
So I have a question that probably applies, Len, to you and me. I don't know who else, but for those of us who are taking an ADT holiday and did it without, before we were castrate resistant, I guess it's going to be a major question for my oncologist. does it make sense to just go back on Lupron and maybe Casodex without going to second line stuff and just seeing how far you can go on it again and whether it has an effect before trying to add something else? Have you thought about that one?
I have. It's an excellent question, and it's never really been directly addressed in any clinical trials. So who knows? When they promoted Zytiga as having a survival advantage, they didn't compare it to using Casodex and then Zytiga. It was just Zytiga up front instead of Casodex. So who knows? It looked good by itself compared to nothing without Casodex.
Right. Yeah, so I've got lots of questions from my oncologist. It's going to be quite the appointment. And I'm also meeting with Dr. Carroll first at UCSF to go over the scan a week from Friday. He was my surgeon, and he put me in for the scan for the trial. So I'll go over results with him and talk to him a little bit about what he finds and so forth before I fly down to LA and meet with Dr. Turner.
Anyone else on the call who's on drug holiday? Or anyone else who's currently on? I think I recall someone being on Casodex and then they stopped and their PSA went down. So that's my concern about taking Casodex, is that at some point when it stops working, not only does it stop working, but it actually feeds the cancer. And then when you stop it, your PSA goes down. Now, if you're on top of it, and as soon as you see that your PSA is no longer dropping, I would get off of Casodex immediately before it starts working as an agonist rather than an antagonist.
Right, you're right about that, Len. It's and apparently only about 30% of people actually respond once they stop Casodex. A lot of times your PSA does not go down at all. Only apparently only about 30% of people actually respond. I tried that and I was one of those. So I went directly to Xtandi myself. I think the person you're talking about is I think it might have been Larry Fish. I think it was him. He talked about that last week. Was it Larry?
Yes, you're right. It was Larry. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, and he had a response. But you're
he
right.
Did. Went down quite a bit.
Yeah. But apparently apparently you're right. Casodex does at some point starts feeding the cancer, and you got to get off of it pretty quick. Even though you don't see that written anywhere, but it seems like that's at least I haven't seen it written anywhere.
Yeah. I don't know. It might be in the package insert, but I haven't read it. But it's certainly a well-known phenomenon.
Yeah.
One other short topic of conversation is the ARV7 test seems to have fallen out of favor. I've talked to doctors here. Nobody seems to give it much credence. They just think it's an expensive waste of time, and they'd rather just try Zytiga and Xtandi and not bother going through the ARV7 thing. And, I don't know of anybody that's had the test, but maybe someone here has done it. I'm not sure.
That's exactly what my oncologist told me today. I got my shot, and I mentioned the ARV, and he said he felt it was unreliable, and until it becomes more reliable, he didn't feel that it was worth doing.
Yeah, that's what I pick up.
Yeah, so.
Well, I think the issue is this. So let's say you become resistant to either Xtandi or Zytiga. So then they'll do the ARV7. Now, suppose it's positive. Are you just going to say, well, I guess, the other drug's not going to work because I'm now positive for ARV7? Or are you going to say, oh, well, let's give it a try. Let's give the other drug a try just in case, to see if we can get some mileage out of it. So in other words, whether you're positive or not, I think most people are going to say, let me try the other drug.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not really changing clinical practice.
Well, I think that's right, because if you had some success, even if it's only for 6 months or a year, let's say on Xtandi, then most likely you're not ARV7 positive, and most likely Zytiga will also be similarly have some kind of beneficial effect for you. But if you're ARV7 positive, then neither one will. But you're right. I don't know of anybody that's ever had the test. My doctor sent me right to the Xtandi.
Right, but you never had Zytiga, right?
No, not yet. I expect that when the Xtandi stops working, I'll at least give it a shot. So far I'm almost at a year now, and even though my PSA is going up a little bit, it has been working, and I'm assuming I'll stay on the Xtandi for a while yet, until my PSA starts going crazy.
Right.
You don't want to panic and say, oh my God, it's going up, I got to change. I don't know.
Yep. No, I agree with you. So we only have a few minutes left. Anyone else like to talk about anything at all?
Well, this is Jay Kern, and I have a sort of a philosophical question. Like, as your PSA goes down and your testosterone goes down, and then your PSA starts to rise, why doesn't your testosterone start to rise? If you stay on the androgen deprivation therapy that is no longer working.
Well, one thought I've had on that is that the tumors continue to produce androgens that they use instead of the testosterone. So you could have, even though your testosterone is low, you could have your PSA go up.
A substitute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, my understanding.
Yeah, the cancer is. Go ahead, Jake.
I was just going to say, my understanding is that like if you're on Lupron, for example, even if your PSA starts going up, most people stay on it because it does still have a beneficial effect. It does, even though your PSA is going up, it's suppressing it, and it's suppressing the testosterone, so the cancer is growing at a slower rate than it would be if you did not have the androgen, the anti-androgen at all.
Okay.
So
my understanding is that it essentially chemically castrates you, so that your testes are not producing testosterone, but
right.
Your PSA might be coming from someplace else, maybe your adrenals or something like that, to rise. But I think it's essentially to chemically castrate you.
Right.
In my case, when I went on the prednisone and the Zytiga, my T dropped from 7 down to 4. Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
No, that's great. That's excellent.
Yeah. Peter, are you still on? I was going to tell him I see the glide play out to the planes landing at SFO, so that should be reassuring to him.
He's on the call and he's smiling, in case you can't see him.
Okay. Okay.
Well, it's 10 o'clock, guys. Unless someone still has something else they'd like to talk about, we can end the call.
Good job, Len. Good job, Peter. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Len and Jake.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Good job,
Peter and Jake
guys.
and everyone else.
Thank you, Len.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you, Len.
Dennis, thank you.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Sylvester.